Good morning, everyone. I need to preface this section with an explanation. There's a two-letter word. It's two capital letters. It's capital M, capital E. So, me, but what it's describing is some sort of tiny microchip, some sort of AI. So in previous chapters, the me was stolen by Anzu from Enlil at the Bond Heaven Earth, and it also described these tablets of destinies that gave Anzu all of this power. So keep that in mind. We're going to get into it. Now, this is the account of how the primitive worker was created, how Enki and Ninmah, with Ningish Zeta assisting, the being fashioned. Another way the admixture of essences to attain must be tried, Ninmah was saying. How the two strands of essences to combine another way must be found. That which from the earth is the portion must not be harmed. To receive our essence in graduations it must be shaped. From the me formulas of Nibiru's essence only bit by bit could be attempted. In a crystal vessel, Ninmah an admixture was preparing. The oval of a female two-legged she gently placed. With me, a Nuniki seed containing, she the oval impregnated. That oval back into the womb of the two-legged female she inserted. This time there was conceiving. A birth indeed was forthcoming. The allotted time for birth-giving the leaders awaited. With anxious hearts, they results were seeking. The allotted time arrived. There was no birth-giving. In desperation, Ninmah a cutting made. That which was conceived with tongs she drew out. A living being it was. With glee, Enki shouted. We attained, Ningish Zeta with joy cried out. In her hands, Ninmah the newborn held. With joy she was not filled. Shaggy with hair all over was the newborn. His foreparts like of the earth creatures were. His hind parts to those of the Anunnaki more akin they were. They let the two-legged female, the newborn, nurse, with her milk him to suckle. Fast was the newborn growing. What on Nibiru a day was, a month in the Abzu was. Taller the earth child grew. In the image of the Anunnaki he was not. His hands for tools were not suited. His speech only grunting sound was. We must try once more, Ninmah was saying. The admixture needs adjusting. Let me the me's assay. With this or that, me make the endeavor. With Enki and Ningish Zeta assisting, they repeated the procedures. The essences in the me's, Ninmah carefully considered. One bit she took from one bit she took from another. Then in the crystal bowl, the oval of the earth female she inseminated. There was conception. At the appropriate time, there was birth-giving. This one more in the likeness of the Anunnaki was. They let his birth mother him suckle. They let the newborn to a child grow. Appealing he was by his looks. His hands to hold tools were shapen. His senses they tested. They found him deficient. The earth child could not hear. His eyesight was faltered. Again and again, Ninmah rearranged the admixtures of the me formulas. She took bits and pieces. One being had paralyzed feet. Another, his semen was dripping. One had trembling hands. A malfunctioning liver had another. One had hands too short to reach the mouth. One had lungs for breathing unsuited. Enki by the results was disappointed. A primitive worker is not attained. To Ninmah he was saying, what is good or is bad in the being by trials I am discovering. Ninmah to Enki responded, to continue for success my heart prompts me. Once more an admixture she made. Once more the newborn was deficient. Perchance the shortfall is not in the admixture, Enki to her was saying. Perchance neither in the female's oval nor in the essences is the hindrance of what the earth itself is fashioned. Perchance that is what is missing. Not of Nibiru's crystals use the vessel, of the clay of the earth make it. So was Enki with great wisdom possessed, to Ninmah saying, perchance what is earth's own admixture of gold and copper is required. Thus was Enki, he who knows things, promoting her to use clay of the Abzu. In the house of life, Ninmah made a vessel. Of the Abzu's clay she made it. As a purifying bath, she shaped the vessel within it to make the admixture. Gently into the clay vessel of the oval of an earth female, the two-legged, she put. The life essence from the Anunnaki's blood extracted, she in the vessel placed. By the me formulas was the essence directed. Bit by correct bit was it in the vessel added. Then the oval thus fertilized into the womb of the earth female she inserted. There is conception, Ninmah with joy announced. The allotted birth-giving time they awaited. At the allotted time, the earth female began to travail. A child, a newborn, was forthcoming. With her hands, Ninmah the newborn extracted. A male it was. In her hands she held the child. His image she examined. It was the image of perfection. In her hands she held up the newborn. Enki and Ningishzida were present. With joyful laughter the three leaders were seized. Enki and Ningishzida were backslapping. Ninmah Enki embraced and kissed. Your hands have made it, Enki with a gleaming eye to her was saying. They let the birth-giving mother the newborn suckle. Quicker than a child on Nibiru grows, he was growing. From month to month the newborn progressed. From a baby to a child he was becoming. His limbs for the tasks were suited. Speech he knew not. Of speaking he had no understanding. Grunts and snorts were his utterings. Enki the matter was pondering. What was done each step and admixture he considered. Of all that we had tried and changed, one thing was never altered. To Ninmah he was saying, into the womb of the earth female the fertilized oval was always inserted. Perchance this is the remaining obstruction. Thus was Enki saying. Ninmah at Enki gazed, with bewilderment she him beheld. What in truth are you saying? Of him she in answer required. Of the birth-giving womb I am speaking. To her Enki was responding. Of who the fertilized oval nurtures, to birth-giving carries, in our image and after our likeness to be. Perchance an Anunnaki womb is required. In the house of life there was silence. Words never before heard Enki was uttering. They gazed at each other. About what in each other's mind they were thinking. Wise are your words, my brother, Ninmah at long last was saying. Perchance the right admixture in the wrong womb was inserted. Now where is the female among the Anunnaki her womb to offer? Perchance the perfect primitive worker to create, perchance a monster in her belly to carry. So was Ninmah with a trembling voice saying, let me of Ninki, my spouse, of that inquire. Enki was saying, let us her to the house of life summon, the matter before her lay out. He was turning to depart when Ninmah put her hand on his shoulder. No, no, to Enki she was saying, the admixtures by me were made, reward and endangerment should be mine. I shall be the one the Anunnaki womb to provide, for good or evil fate to face. Enki bowed his head. Gently he embraced her. So be it, to her he said. In the clay vessel the admixture they made. The oval of an earth female with the Anunnaki male essence they put together. The fertilized egg into the womb of Ninmah by Enki was inserted. There was conception. The pregnancy by the admixture conceived. How long will it last? To each other they wondered. Will it be 9 months of Nibiru? Will it be 9 months of earth? Longer than on earth, quicker than on Nibiru, travail came. To a male child Ninmah birth was giving. Enki, the boy child, held in his hands the image of perfection he was. He slapped the newborn on his hind parts. The newborn uttered proper sounds. He handed the newborn to Ninmah. She held him up in her hands. My hands have made it. Victoriously she shouted. And now this is the account of how Adamu by name was called, and how Ti-Amat as a counterpart female for him was fashioned. The newborn's visage and limbs the leaders carefully examined. Of good shape were his ears, his eyes were not clogged, his limbs were proper, hind parts like legs, fore parts like hands were shaped. Shaggy like the wild ones he was not, dark black his head hair was. Smooth was his skin, smooth as the Anunnaki skin it was. Like dark red blood was its color, like the clay of the Abzu was its hue. They looked at his malehood, odd was its shape, by a skin was its forepart surrounded. Unlike that of the Anunnaki malehood it was, a skin from its forepart was hanging. Let the earthling from us Anunnaki by his foreskin be distinguished. So was Enki saying. The newborn to cry was beginning. To her chest Ninmah closely drew him. To her breast him she gave. The breast he began to suckle. Perfection we did attain, Ningishzida with elation was saying. Enki at his sister was gazing, a mother and son, not Ninmah and a being he was seeing. A name will you give him? Enki inquired. A being he is, not a creature. Ninmah cast her hand upon the newborn's body. With her fingers his dark red skin she caressed. Adamu I shall call him, Ninmah was saying. One who like earth's clay is, that will be his name. For the newborn Adamu a crib they fashioned. In the corner of the house of life they placed him, a model for primitive workers we have indeed attained, Enki was saying. Now a host of workers like him are needed, Ningishzida his elders reminded. A model indeed he shall be. As for himself, like a firstling he shall be treated. From the toil he himself shall be protected. His essence alone as a mold shall be. So was Enki saying. By hence decree Ninmah was greatly pleased. Whose wombs henceforth the fertilized ovals shall carry? Ningishzida was asking. The leaders the matter pondered. Ninmah a solution offered. From her city, Shurubak, Ninmah female healers summoned. The task required to them she explained. To the crib of Adamu she led them, the newborn earthling to perceive. To perform the task is not a commandment, Ninmah to them was saying. Of your own wish is the decision. Of the female Anunnaki assembled, 7 stepped forward. 7 the task accepted. Let their names for all time be remembered, Ninmah to Enki was saying. Their task is heroic. By them a race of primitive workers shall come into being. The 7 step forward, each one her name with announcing. The names Ningishzida recorded. Ninima, Shuziana, Ninmada, Ninbara, Ninmug, Musardu, and Ninguina. These were the names of the 7 who by their own wish birth mothers were to be. Earthlings in their wombs to conceive and bear, primitive workers to create. In 7 vessels of clay of the Abzu made, Ninmah ovals of the 2-legged females placed. The life essence of Adamu she extracted. Bit by bit in the vessels it inserted. Then in the male part of Adamu an incision she made, a drop of blood to let out. Let this a sign of life be, that flesh and soul have combined. Let it forever proclaim. She squeezed the male part for blood, 1 drop of blood in each vessel to the admixture she added. In this clay's admixture, earthling with the Anunnaki shall be bound. Thus was Ninmah saying, an incantation she was pronouncing. To a unity shall the two essences, one of heaven, one of earth, together be brought. That which is of earth and that which is from Nibiru by a blood kinship shall be bonded. So was Ninmah pronouncing, her words with Ningishzida also recorded. In the wombs of the birth-giving heroines, the fertilized ovals were inserted. There was conception. With anticipation was the allotted time counted. At the allotted time, 7 male earthlings were born. Their features were proper, good sounds they were uttering. By the heroines they were suckled. 7 primitive workers have been created, Ningishzida was saying. Let the procedure be repeated, 7 more the toil to undertake. My son, to him Enki was saying, not even 7 by 7 sufficient shall be. Of heroine healers too much is required. Forever their task this way shall be. Indeed, the task is too demanding. Slow beyond enduring it is, Ninmah to them said. Female ones we have to fashion, Enki was saying, for males counterparts to be. Let them know each other, as one flesh the two to become. Let them by themselves procreate, on their own the child-birthing make. To primitive workers by themselves give birth, Anunnaki females to relieve. The me formulas you must change, from male to female adjustment make. So did Enki to Ningishzida say. For a counterpart to Adamu be fashioned. In the womb of an Anunnaki female conception is needed. So did Ningishzida to his father Enki in responding say. Enki at Ninmah his gaze directed. Before she could speak, he raised his hand. Let me this time Ninki, my spouse, summon. With strong voice he said, if she is willing, let her the mold for the female earthling create. They to the Abzu, to the house of life, Ninki summoned. They showed her Adamu. All that matters to her, they explained. Of the task that is required, they gave explanations. Of success and danger to her an account gave. By the task, Ninki was fascinated. Let it be done, she said to them. By the me formulas, Ningishzida adjusting made. By the admixture was an oval fertilized. Into the womb of his spouse, Enki it inserted. With much care he did it. There was conception. In the allotted time, Ninki was in travail. A birth there was not. Ninki the months counted. Ninmah the months counted. The 10th month, a month of evil fates, they began to call. Ninmah, the ladies whose hand wombs has opened, with a cutter an incision made. Her head was covered. On her hands protections she wore. With dexterity the opening she made. Her face at once was brightened. That which in the womb was from the womb came forth. A female birth was given. To Ninki with joy she shouted. The newborn's visage and limbs they carefully examined. Of good shape were her ears. Her eyes were not clogged. Her limbs were proper. Hind parts like legs, fore parts like hands were shaped. Shaggy she was not. Like beach sand was the hue of her head hair. Her skin smooth was, as that of the Anunnaki, in smoothness and color it was. Ninmah, the girl child held in her hands, she slapped her hind parts. Proper sounds the newborn uttered. To Ninki, the spouse of Enki, she the newborn handed, to be suckled, nourished, and raised. A name will you give her? Enki of his spouse inquired. A being she is, not a creature. In your image she is, and after your likeness. Perfectly she is fashioned, a model for female workers you have attained. Ninki cast her hand upon the newborn's baby. With her fingers, her skin she caressed. Ti-Amat, let her name be, the mother of life, Ninki was saying. Like the planet of old, of which the earth and the moon were fashioned, let her be called. From her womb's life essence, other birth givers shall be molded. To a multitude of primitive workers, she thereby life will be giving. Thus was Ninki saying, the others' words of concurring uttered.